Didn't the Prophet know what they're doing? Honestly, tell me something. Didn't he know what they were doing? He knew exactly what they were doing. But the hadith is not just for them, it's for every Muslim to the day of judgment. And I tell you, Islam is ancient. Habibi, Islam is contempt. Wallah, qasam. Sometimes I will read or hear a hadith or read a verse, and it's like Allah said these words in 2019 March. That's how alive the Quran is. People tell me it's old. So he walks in, he sees them wrestling. He says, what are you doing? Ya Rasulullah, marra man, let it go. Khalas, he walked in, we've stopped wrestling, leave it. But because he's the doctor, he's the teacher, and he's there to cure the sicknesses of societies. So they said, Ya Rasulullah, we're wrestling. Then he asks, why are you wrestling? Look at the salt now. Now the salt is straight to the wound. Yani imagine the Sahaba, Ya Allah, who's going to explain why we're wrestling? Who's going to explain why we're fooling around? So they said, Ya Rasulullah, we're wrestling to see who amongst us is who's the Rijal, brother? Has anything changed in 1400 years? Anything changed? La wallah, it's exactly the same. They're not doing anything haram. Rasulullah knows that they weren't. But he was worried about something far deeper. So what does he say? He said, the Rajal, the man amongst you, is not the one that can physically put down the other. Any meathead can do that. That's not how we determine who the Rijal is. Imagine how the Sahaba felt. Imagine when the Prophet is telling him, this is not how we determine men. He said, the Rijal amongst you, the man amongst you, please my young brothers, please don't fall for the fitna of the street, man. This deed will make a man out of you. The street will only make a thug out of you. He said, the Rijal amongst you, the man amongst you, is the one who, when a musibah, when a calamity happens, he can control his anger and his wrath. He can control it. He's patient. This is the man. Go to the UFC gym and tell him this. Brothers are spending hours, and it's fine. Tonight I'm not mentioning anything about halal and haram. So don't come and say, look, wallah, the brother was saying it's halal and haram. Please, my brothers, halal and haram, this is kindergarten language. Kindergarten language. We need to develop, we need to move on. We need to start having a deeper relationship with Allah. Deeper. The Prophet is telling him depth. This is not the man. The man is when something befalls, he's what? He controls. Try this. Try it. Yalla, I challenge everyone try it. See how difficult it is. Understand why when Allah mentions Rijal, there's honor and azza behind the word. Today we say man to anyone. Anyone that can throw some punches, yeah, he's a man. So we have another epidemic. You might tell me, no, brother, you don't have to physically fight. What's the other epidemic we have in our community, in our society? How do we determine who's the Rijal? How big is he, brother? We have a steroids epidemic now. Muslims. Ya Allah, steroid. Don't ask me halal and haram. But the sickness, have you ever heard of the sickness called the small man syndrome? Have you ever heard of this? Small man syndrome? No, you've never heard? Small man syndrome is the small guy who feels like all the bigger guys never take him seriously. So he starts doing things that are out of his character in order to show them that, look, I'm a man as well. They call this what? Small man syndrome. And qasam by Allah, 99% of brothers on steroids, it's all small man syndrome. It's insecurities in the heart. That if I don't look intimidating, if I don't look physically strong and muscly, I'm not a man. So brothers will be he'll bench press 100, 120, Allahu Alam what they're bench pressing. He'll bench press amazing weight and it's recorded and Snapchatted. But the same brother cannot lift a blanket for Fajr. Hours in the gym. Wallahi, the same brother, yet can't lift up a blanket for Fajr. We have a steroids epidemic. Steroids now. Everyone's abishakshik. And you know what's funny? Everyone's on steroids, but no one says it. And we're supposed to all act like, okay, because you're not saying it and I'm not saying it, so therefore it's not happening. I see a brother today, he's a pencil neck. He leaves, 6 weeks later, he's got muscles on his ears and his nose. So I'm thinking, brother, tabarakallah, Allahu Akbar, how did you get so muscly? So now he's trying to convince me, because I'm the fat one, and therefore I don't, clearly I don't understand the gym. Brother, alhamdulillah, I've been eating well. Habibi, what are you eating? What are you eating that's put muscles on your ears and your nose, brother? Tell me how. Nah, brother, I've been eating tuna and rice. So I'm thinking, brother, wallahi, I've been eating tuna and rice too, but how come? So we're all in denial. We're in denial. Small man syndrome, to look big, to look intimidating. This makes me a man in the community.